Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Give me a second. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept our humble obeisances. All good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Accept mine. Always a Prabhupada. Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, Prabhupada.
Thank you so much for joining this evening in our weekly program. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Okay.
Great.
I was expecting more.
Everybody
response.
is good. Well, we are good. Let's put it that way.
So let's say 3 Hari Bols and make sure we are in good spirit and still awake on this Friday evening.
Yes.
You can unmute yourself and we will say 3 Hari Bols. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Okay, that was for me, so I can get some energy. Thank you so much. So today we have His Grace Vishnugada das prabhu on a special request to bless us with his association. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for taking a time for us. I'm sure all of us know Prabhuji or must have definitely seen him around. Again, since we want to utilize this time to hear more from him, I will try to briefly introduce. His Grace Vishnugada das Prabhuji is a senior disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. He has been serving ISKCON Philadelphia especially and neighboring congregations since last many years. And I'm sure all of us must have seen his enthusiastic participation in all the Rath Yatras, at least whenever we go to Baltimore, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and you name it. I would say in the whole East Coast region, because I have not gone beyond East Coast region in any Rath Yatra so far. So at least that I know. Actually, a few years back, Prabhuji also came to our annual Radha Shri Janmashtami program, and he blessed us with his presence and also performed ecstatic kirtan throughout the program. And whenever you meet him, he will always discuss about absolutely beautiful creative ideas to expand Srila Prabhupada's movement. What more can we do? How can we share this mercy with so many people who are waiting around us?
And he's an excellent cook.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Excellent cook.
And whenever you talk to him, it's always very uplifting and inspire us what more we can do in for Srila Prabhupada. So without any further delay, I would let His Grace Vishnugada das prabhu to take over and bless us with his nectarian words today. I think the topic we have chosen for today is considerations for performing kirtan to help make it pleasing to Srila Prabhupada and Lord Caitanya. Beautiful topic. Beautiful topic. So welcome Prabhuji once again, and please bless us with your nectarian words.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, dear Krishna Prabhu, Mother Anasuya, and the devotees for inviting me at this time. You know, this is a time where a lot of things have been cut back, so sometimes at this time it's good to take stock and get back to the basics. So reviewing the basics so we can have that firm, develop and continue to build our firm foundation. And of course, this Srila Prabhupada's movement and the movement of Lord Caitanya is known as the Sankirtan movement. Yeah. So this is really the essence and the basis of the movement, the Hare Krishna movement. So I thought we'd discuss the purpose, attitude while chanting, and some guidelines for performing the Hare Krishna Kirtan, Sankirtan. Particularly since Kirtan and Sankirtan, chanting the holy names of the Lord congregationally has been recommended by Lord Caitanya, the avatar of Krishna for this age, and is a foundational practice of bhakti and the Hare Krishna movement. So, and this won't be too formal, so that if I know most of you have, it looks like you have your mute on, but if you have a question or you want to say something, that's fine in the middle, because I'm going to go over a lot of different things. And if you have something that comes up at that time, you might forget later. It's okay. You can interrupt me and I don't mind. Okay. So, you know, the importance of chanting isn't something that was only introduced by Lord Caitanya, as you know, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 9th chapter, Lord Krishna was describing to Arjuna, if you remember, there's avajanati ma mudha manusim tanamashrita. You know that verse, maybe. It says that people who are deluded, they think that I have assumed this material form. And then he describes about the people, or those who are not deluded, those who are not in Maya. And then he says, what about them? Satatam
Kirtayantu
mam. That's right. They're
Kirtayantu
always,
mam.
that's the way we know that somebody is not in illusion. Similarly, shortly thereafter, Srila Shukadev Goswami said this, which you know from Srimad Bhagavatam. Kaler doshini de rajan
Eka Asti Mahanga.
astahi eka mahadguna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha parambrajet. He said, Kali dosha. In this Kali Yuga is full of dosha, means what? False. False. Nidhe means an ocean of faults. But astahieka mahanguna. But there's one good thing of Kali Yuga. One good thing. Kirtana deva krishnasya. By chanting Krishna, then mukta sangha, you become free from the material involvement, and parambrajet, you go to the supreme destination. Yeah. You see it here. So also, and then we're going forward in time. We went from Lord Krishna, that was Shukadev Goswami. Now, then just more recently, Lord Caitanya, when Lord Caitanya went to see his spiritual master for the first time in Gaya, so his spiritual master told him, you cannot understand the Vedanta. Don't worry about that. Even though he was a great Pandit, his guru said, no, you must always keep this verse within your throat. Do you remember what that verse was? Hello? Oh, you don't want to? Okay. Hare Nama. Hare Nama.
Hare Nama
Hare
Kevalam.
Nama Eva Kevalam.
Kevalam. Kalau nastevya gatiranyata.
There's chanting the holy name, chanting the holy names, chanting the holy names. There is no other method but this in this age of Kali for developing love of God. So then, it wasn't just a one-time thing, but later, shortly after that, Lord Caitanya was instructing Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Puri, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked him, what is the most important part of devotional service? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said. So the Lord Chaitanya immediately replied, Bhakti sadhana shreshta. You know the word sadhan, yeah, it means regular performance. Bhakti sadhana shreshta shunite hoilaman. The Lord immediately replied that the most important item in performing sadhan is this chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And then he said again, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. So we don't often think of Sankirtan as part of sadhan, but here Lord Chaitanya is saying, this is the most important part of sadhan, is kirtan, which is very interesting also because, as we know, Lord Caitanya himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this age of Kali, which he has so many important things to do, but he personally took time out every evening for 1 year to chant with his devotees for hours every night. So this gives us a little sense of the importance of the activity of Sankirtan and chanting. So then a question for you. Do you think the 10 offenses apply to kirtan?
Yes.
No.
Some say no. Some usually we think because when we recite the 10 offenses, often it's right after we're about to chant japa, isn't it?
Yes.
So we try to associate with chanting japa,
Uh-huh.
but it applies to kirtan as well as japa. So we should know that. So just a couple other things. You know, Lord Caitanya, even though he was a pandit, he had 8 verses. There were 8 verses that he himself compiled, and that first one was, as you know, Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nevapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Bardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swaranam Sarvatma Sapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years together and extinguishes the fire of material life. Then, very interesting, it is the prime benediction for humanity at large. What does prime mean?
The first.
Yeah, number
Most
one. It's a
important.
number one. It's a number one. Prime benediction means it's the number one benediction for humanity at large. And then in the next verse he says, Nam nama kari bahuna jijasarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamata smaranena kala. He says that, oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to the living beings. So these are very important things to remember as we're getting into this topic. So later in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 15, text 107, now we reviewed Lord Chaitanya, some verses from Lord Chaitanya. Now we'll go a little further. Lord Chaitanya says, Eka Krishna Nam Kare Sarva Papa Choy Nava Vidha Bhakti Purna Nam Hoite Hoy. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna once, a person is relieved from all the reactions of sinful life. One can complete, now this is very interesting, one can complete the 9 processes of devotional service simply by chanting the holy names. Now the purport, yeah. There's a purport, yeah. I'm going down to a little bit. In this regard, now we're hearing from Srila Jiva Goswami states in his book, the Bhakti Sandarbha, out of the 9 processes of devotional service, kirtan is very important. Srila Jiva Goswami therefore instructs that the other processes such as archan, bandhan, dasyan, sakya should be executed, but look at this, they must be preceded and followed by kirtan, the chanting of the holy names. We have therefore introduced the system in all our centers. Archan, Arti, Bhog, deity dressing, and decoration are all preceded and followed by the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So moving forward, we have Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song Jeev Jago, he says, Enechi Oshadhi Maya Nashi Badalage, Hari Nam Mahamantra Lao Tumi Bhagi. That I have this medicine that's specifically meant to destroy Maya. What is that medicine? Hari Nam.
Chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah. And when Srila Prabhupada was in London, the devotees, when they first went there in the late summer of 1968, and they really struggled to get a temple going. So they were worried about that. So Srila Prabhupada told them that kirtan is the universal principle of religion. Temple worship is secondary. If you chant offenselessly and nicely, it will act. Chanting Hare Krishna, this is the essence of deity worship. And as you know, in the early days, Srila Prabhupada, how did he spread and attract people to the movement?
Kirtan.
Huh?
Kirtan. Tompkins Square Park, all out there.
There was Tompkins Square Park, and in
The chanting.
and in San Francisco, they went to, what was that park there?
Golden Gate.
Golden Gate
Golden
Park,
Gate.
yeah. And even in the temples, they would have kirtan every evening in New York, and in San Francisco, Srila Prabhupada would chant for an hour Hare Krishna kirtan in the morning and an hour Hare Krishna kirtan at night. So the movement, based on this regular chanting of Hare Krishna, it became strong. So hopefully this is the introduction. I'm introducing the point. So I know that you've heard many of these points before. I'm sure you have. And the tendency may be for us to say, oh yeah, yes, I know. There's a saying that familiarity breeds, what is it? Contempt. Yeah. And so we need to be reminded of these points, and so that because we have difficulty appreciating and remembering them. The reason we have difficulty appreciating them is because we have become familiar, and we may not be approaching the kirtan. We may be approaching the kirtan in a frivolous and lackadaisical fashion, thus not respecting the holy names and the kirtan properly and according to the methods prescribed by the authorities. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So there's a tendency. There's a tendency that's developed within ISKCON that when we have a very important function, then we become very serious and we have a fire sacrifice. And everybody sits around and we throw grains and we send swaha. And during these functions, the kirtan is often like an afterthought. They have some people on the side chanting, isn't it? Yeah. But with Srila Prabhupada, when he had the installation of the Krishna Balaram deities in Vrindavan, I was there, and they had all these Brahmins chanting mantras and fire sacrifice and stuff. You notice in the purport of Caitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada said all these things were going on, but as far as he was concerned, the most important part of the installation was, guess what?
Chanting of the holy name.
Yes, chanting the holy name. Yeah. So another important thing Prabhupada said is, a devotee asked him, when we have problems and the spiritual master isn't present, and it's too detailed to find in the books, what are we supposed to do? And what was Srila Prabhupada's response? You chant Hare Krishna. Do Hare Krishna Kirtan.
Yeah, okay.
And the answer will come from within. Okay. So right now, we've talked about all the glories of the holy name a little bit here, but we may not be experiencing that. And why is that? It could be, I can only speak for myself, but it could be that because we're not sufficiently paying attention, doing it offenselessly, and approaching and doing the kirtan in a very devotional and way. We haven't reached the perfectional stage, and that means we have to improve our kirtan. And humility means realizing that we have to improve our kirtan. That's what humility means. And so, and not only realizing we have to, but then acting on that basis. The third Shikshastika verse is Vinada and Krishnadas Kaviraj said, yeah, we have to keep that verse like a garland around our necks if we want to be, we want to understand and appreciate and make progress in the holy name. So, true story, I was in Benares, I think it was like 1981, And I was on my way from Mayapur to Vrindavan. And the train was a long train. It got delayed, so I had to stop over in Benares. And I heard the next morning there's going to be a kirtan band taking place in a local park. So I thought, oh, well, that's wonderful. Let me go see. So I went there early in the morning, and they had all these players together. Trumpet players, flute players, drums, all kinds of instruments. And they were all playing all different things at once without any coordination. It was just a cacophony of sound. And this is in the land of Lord Caitanya and the land of, you know, expert maestros in sitar and everything. So it's come to that. So hopefully that's not how we do things. You follow? You follow. So now I'm switching. We're switching now. We're going to go to the dimensions of kirtan. I don't know if you've seen sometimes a magician or a juggler who does many things at once. Like, for example, they'll twirl a plate on the end of one stick, and they'll put it here, and they'll throw another one there, and then they'll put it. So they do all these things at once, and you think, how do they do that? Well, how do they do it? Practice.
Practice.
Yes. So similarly, in the kirtan, in the Sankirtan, there's a lot of different dimensions and domains of it that we have to really pay attention to. And it may seem like it's overwhelming because they are many, but with practice, it can be done. So we'll just briefly take a look at some of these, and I'd like your input on some of these too, if you like. The dimensions we're going to talk about are the purpose, the attitude, the mantra, the volume, the tempo, and the tune. What are those? You got them?
Prabhu, the last two is tempo and the tune, you said, Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The purpose, the attitude, the mantra, the volume, the tempo, and the tune.
Yeah. Very good,
Okay.
very good. Okay. So I'm going to try to quote or cite examples from Srila Prabhupada in each of these, because, you know, we're in ISKCON, and so in ISKCON, sometimes we don't know how to do things. So then one of the things it's very valuable to do is, how would Srila Prabhupada do things? Like in Christianity, they have this things, WWJCD. I don't know if you've heard of that. WWJCD. What would Jesus Christ do? They say. So we say WWSPD. What would Srila Prabhupada do? So that's.
I love this.
So one of the overarching principles when we're talking about Sankirtan and Kirtan is that since it is ideal that it's performed in such a way that as many people as possible can participate and thus be included. You follow? That will keep that as one overarching principle. Okay, so then what is the purpose? What is the purpose of Sankirtan? That's my question. That's the first one where we talked about all those different dimensions. So what is the purpose of Sankirtan? I want input.
To please Lord Krishna and his devotees.
Who said that? Yeah. Very good, very good, very good. Yes. Here, I'm going to read a little. This is from a memories book with Prabhupada's Sanskrit scholar, Pradyumna said, once in 1968, Srila Prabhupada finished a program at the Montreal Temple and was walking back to his apartment a couple of blocks away along with Gaurasundar, Vamanadev, and me. We were on Park Avenue when Vamanadev said to Prabhupada, "That was a great kirtan. I enjoyed it so much." Prabhupada immediately turned to him and said, "Kirtan is not for you to enjoy. It is for Krishna's pleasure." Oh, okay. Okay. So that's something that it's really important for us to keep in mind. You know, there's so many things we can do that might be fancy, but what's the purpose? For Krishna's pleasure. Now we're in the time of coronavirus, you know, and people are worried about health, and understandably so. In 1898, you know what happened in Calcutta?
There was a plague.
The plague.
Bubonic plague, which they used to call the Black Death. And many people perished. And there was a Babaji who organized in Calcutta Sankirtan. And people were going around. Prabhupada was, as a boy of 2, was there in the kirtan. He remembers jumping up and down during the kirtan and going up to people's knees. But then he said, he was talking about this, and he said, but you know, really, that is nama parad. Do you know that? Why? Because they're not doing the kirtan for Krishna's pleasure. They're doing it trying to use it in the service of themselves, their health. Yeah. So chanting for protection from the coronavirus would have to fall in that category too. There was a one time in Mayapur, 1977, when it was organized. There was a kirtan competition. You know this? A kirtan competition. They got different bands, kirtan bands, come forward, and Srila Prabhupada heard about it and stopped it. He said, that is offensive. Also namaparad. Why? Not chanting for Krishna's pleasure. Not chanting, yeah. We're not chanting for money, chanting for recognition. Oh, people will think I'm a good kirtaniya or singer or a drum player or kartal player. Those are all impediments to doing a nice kirtan. So there's a yeah. Do you know the devotee named Brahmatirtha?
Yes, perfect question, perfect answers.
Perfect questions, perfect answers. Yeah, so, he met Srila Prabhupada in India when he was a worker there, a social worker with what's that U.S. something or other. Anyway, he was a social worker there in Calcutta. He met Srila Prabhupada. They had a discussion. And then when Srila Prabhupada came to the United States, he was there. He used to live in New Jersey. And he came and saw Srila Prabhupada in Brooklyn Temple. And when Srila Prabhupada came out, he bowed down. And he was a little worried, afraid of him. So he stayed down a long time and offered obeisances, but expecting that Srila Prabhupada would pass by. But Srila Prabhupada stood there and waited for him to get up and then embraced him. Yeah, Brahmatirtha. So the next time he saw Srila Prabhupada was in 1976 when he was getting initiated. And this time, when he was getting initiated, he thought, oh, now Prabhupada will really be really pleased with me. I'm getting initiated and I'm doing some very valuable service. So he went up to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada acted as if he didn't even see him. And the way he understood this was that he was feeling very proud. And if you look at the devotees who had personal exchanges with Srila Prabhupada, this was a very, very common occurrence. That when they had pride or they were looking for recognition from Srila Prabhupada would ignore them. So, do you think this might happen with the holy name and Krishna also? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Easily.
Yeah. So these are this talks about the meaning of the purpose of the holy name and the way of approach, that we have we have no qualification at all to please Krishna, but still we're asking you, please accept our service. Oh Lord, oh energy of the Lord, please accept our service. I'm not a good chanter. My heart is full of dirty things, but please still accept that service. So in that mood, there's possibility we might be able to please Krishna a little bit. Okay.
Prabhu, can I ask a question now?
You certainly can. This is Sudevi.
Yes. Prabhu, when you mentioned about the people chanting in Calcutta for the, for the plague, and then you said just not, those for material benefit. But is it not that natural, Prabhupada, is natural for devotees to call out to God and to Krishna when they're in distress?
Yes,
would you say like generous, or how is that?
I'm not, I'm just, that's what Srila Prabhupada said when he commenting about that, in case you didn't know. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. In a difficult situation right there, our only savior, our only protection is Krishna. That's one of the symptoms of surrender, knowing that Krishna is our only protection. On the other hand, we also know that it's up to, if you want to protect us, Krishna, please protect me. But if you don't want to protect us, you can kill me also. Marubi Rakobi Yoichatohar. You can kill me or protect me. Sure, Krishna, if you want, protect me, please. But if we don't, it's completely up to Krishna. Just like when Srila Prabhupada was in Calcutta and the bombs were falling, he said he was seeing this is also Krishna, but not a very nice form of Krishna, because the bombs can kill him. So yes, you're absolutely correct. The devotees, they know that Krishna is their only protector. And when the residents of Vrindavan, there was the rain sent by Indra, the torrents of rain, a hurricane coming, they said Krishna. But it was but they also knew that if Krishna wants to protect us, he will. But if he wants to kill us, he will. And that's all. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. Okay. So then, let's see where we. Oh yeah. So the mantra. So really, the mantra is the main focus of the kirtan, right? So sometimes we'll find that people, devotees, will become distracted by playing the instrument, a kartal, drum, whatever it may be, and they'll forget, and they'll forget to chant. Have you ever seen that happen? Yeah. It does happen. So this, I was taught to play the drum by Madhusudan Prabhu, who was taught by Srila Prabhupada, and he taught me from the very beginning. He said, unless you chant when you play, it's not, you're wasting your time. So this is really important. I mean, there's so many other distractions we can get involved, but it's important to, we have to at least chant. So Srila Prabhupada says this in a letter. A room conversation. If he plays and his attention is diverted in musical instrument, not to chanting, that is not good. Our concentration should be hearing Hare Krishna. That is bhakti. All other aspects of the kirtan, the volume, musical instruments, tune, tempo, pitch, etc., should support chanting and hearing of the Mahamantra. And one other thing here. Are you with me still?
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. I'm taking notes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. I know this is a little technical here, but here we have. This is from a devotee in Mayapur. He said, the festival devotees were having a kirtan in the temple in Mayapur. They sang a tune that lent itself to saying Gadadhar. Gadadhar. But it was one of those newer melodies, and Prabhupada called me in and said, they are singing Gadadhar. But it is, what is it?
Gadadhar.
Gadadhar.
Oh.
It's Gadadhar. He said the melody shouldn't take precedence over, the melody shouldn't take precedence over the name. So if you notice, sometimes people will chant melodies and will extend the last syllable. Hare Krishna. Just you take an example. But there are two people. There's Krishna and Krishna. Who is Krishna? Who is Krishna?
Draupadi.
Yeah. So in this sense, another example, the melody shouldn't take precedence over the name. The name is Krishna, but not Krishna. It's Rama, but not Rama. So these are important things to know. So another thing is we sometimes, there's lots of chants that we can chant, but the main chant is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Recently in Philadelphia, we made a change that on the evening arti for Sunday feast, they were chanting the Gaur arti, and there was a change. I actually pushed for the change, especially for the new people. It's hard to know the Gaur arti, and historically in New York, when I first joined, we chanted Gaur arti, but not on Sunday when new people came. Most of the chanting was the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In fact, the GBC made a rule that all public kirtans, at least half, has to be Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Did you know that? There's lots of GBC resolutions, so it's...
Yes, that one I knew about, Prabhu, yes.
Yeah. So the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, very long, lots and mostly. And one thing I noticed when there was some opposition. I asked Jayadvaita Swami. I asked Jayadvaita Swami because, he said, I hear what you say. I will back you 100%. There was some back you 100%. Our main chanting, when Prabhupada would chant in temples or on Sankirtan, 95% of the chanting was the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We don't find Prabhupada very, very rarely, if at all, when he led the kirtan, did he chant Hari Bol? Not much. He might have followed somebody, but when he did the kirtan himself, no, he didn't chant that. Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There was a devotee named Bharadvaj. I don't know, Bharadvaj was Gauravani's father.
Oh, yes.
He's excellent kirtan man, incredible kirtan man. So in Vrindavan, he was chanting, Gaura, 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 hey. And Prabhupada stopped him. He said, what are you chanting? He said, I found this in a book by Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Prabhupada said, no. We chant, we're chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So now, there are other chants. There was an article in the dandavats.com about a month ago that said not to chant Jai Jagannath during Rath Yatra. I don't know if you saw that article. That's not correct. Srila Prabhupada sometimes instructed people to chant Jai Jagannath during Rath Yatra, but the main chant is Hare Krishna. The main chant, and we chant Sri Krishna Caitanya, the Panchatattva Mahamantra, but we don't chant it a lot. We chant it 3, 4, 5 times at most, and then the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This came up in my mind also in recently during Ram Nomi, because what do you sing on Ram Nomi? What do you sing on Ram Nomi?
Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Well, you got Hare Ram, But, so I thought, well, are any recordings of Srila Prabhupada ever chanting Raghupati Raghava? Have I ever heard of it? And there's a verse that goes, Sampradaya Vihinaye Mantraste Nishpala Mata. That unless you get your mantra from the Sampradaya Acharya, it doesn't bear fruit. So I was a little worried about that. So I called up Jayadvaita Swami, and I knew there was one instance where Mukunda in San Francisco sent a tape of devotees chanting Raghupati Raghava to Srila Prabhupada in 1967 or 66. And Prabhupada said, yeah, that he liked that. Oh, okay. So Jayadvaita Swami said, yes, Prabhupada allowed Raghupati Raghava on Ram Navami, but just the first 2 lines. There's another part that goes, Ishwar Allah Tero Naam. You know this one?
No.
Yes.
Allah
Yes,
means,
I know.
whether you call them Ishwar or Allah, it's all the same person. He said that was really a political addition later. So we don't. So we're talking about that. We don't do that part of the mantra. Okay. So
Prabhu, can I ask one more question?
you may. You ask good questions.
Yeah, you know, when you were talking earlier about not saying Krishna, so how about Ram? Do you say Ram, Rama, or Ramo?
Well, if you're Bengali, you say Rama.
No, I have heard different. What would be the proper? Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, or Hare Rama, Ramo?
Well, Bengali say Rama. Bengali say Ramo. They do. Because in Bengal, all short A's are O, like O. There's another verse that goes, Bhavagrahi Janardana. Bhavagrahi Janardana means Krishna knows your heart. So, I mean, even if you're mispronouncing, he still appreciates. But still, as devotees, we want to pronounce it as correctly. So, Prabhupada often pronounced things in Bengali language. So
how about Japa? If you chant Japa, would you say Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama?
Hare Rama, yeah.
Hare Rama.
Yeah. There's 32 syllables and 16 words. So without the last syllable, there's no 32 syllables, right?
Right.
Ite soda shakam nam nam kalikalma shanashanam. Okay. We're okay now? We're still with me?
Yes.
How long do we go? I have a couple more pages here. Okay.
We would like you to go on as much as possible.
We're enjoying this. We're really enjoying this.
You're very kind to me. Okay. So next domain is volume. Volume. So I'm going to read this here from a devotee Abhiram. Once at midday, Prabhupada was lying on his bed resting in London. I was chanting on my japa bead, silently attending to him to see if he needed anything. His eyes were closed, so he appeared to be resting, but suddenly he said, the drum should not be louder than the voice. The drum should not be louder than the voice. This was during a completely quiet, peaceful summer afternoon at the manor. I didn't know what he was talking about. Most of the devotees were out on Sankirtan. They were eager to please Prabhupada, so the temple was practically empty. I listened very carefully, and through the floor, I could hear arti going on in the temple room, which was underneath Prabhupada's room. I ran downstairs. There was one brahmachari playing the mridanga, one brahmachari playing kartal, and one pujari offering arti. From his nap, Prabhupada gave the instruction, the drum should not be louder than the voice. So do you think that applies only to drum?
No, to all the instruments.
All the instruments.
All, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So there's that Sad Goswami Ashtakam goes, Krishnot kirtana gana nartana paro. Utkirtan. Utkirtan means very loud kirtan. So sometimes we hear that and we think, oh, we'll play the instruments very loud. But really, the important part of the kirtan is the voice being loud. And if the instruments are loud, what happens?
Then
You can't hear the voice.
Drowns
everything
out the
becomes,
voice,
yeah,
drowns
exactly.
out the mantra, which is the main part of the kirtan. So i- instruments all should be played following this. Instruments should all be played at a volume markedly less than the volume of the vocal chanting. And there are a number of reasons for this. First one is we talked about that Srila Prabhupada said so that the Hare Krishna mantra can be clearly heard without being drowned out by the kartals and the instruments. Another reason is so that the instrument players and others can stay in time with the leader. Do you follow? Because if they're playing loudly, they're going to hear themselves and they can't hear necessarily the tempo of the leader. Because during a kirtan, there is no conductor. Have you been at a concert?
Yes.
Have you been
Yes.
at a concert? And at a
Mhm.
concert, there's somebody up there, tap, 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 and he's keeping the tempo with the baton. So in a kirtan, where's the conductor?
Mm-mm.
There
No
is none.
conductor.
So the conductor has to be the leader of the kirtan is the conductor. So in order to be able to hear what the leader's playing, the leader's tempo and the leader's, the other instruments have to be less. When the instruments are played loudly, it's more difficult for the person playing the instrument and others also to tell whether they're in sync with the leader's tempo. And particularly at times when the leader might choose to change the tempo. Then there's a third reason. Not to play the instruments very loud. And you know what that is because you can lose your hearing. Jayadvaita Maharaj wrote a comprehensive article called Noise-Induced Hearing Loss. It's there on his website, www.jswami.info, and it's in a section called About Health. Anyway, he describes about how at different levels of decibels by exposure for a period of time that you can lose your hearing. And so we tested, it starts around 100 decibels, things start to go. If you're exposed for more than an hour, your hearing starts to go. If it happens repeatedly. So we decided.
Prabhu, can I ask a quick question here about the volume, Prabhu, that you just talked about?
Yeah, sure.
I've seen in some temples that they use this really big gong, whatever, that really big cartels. And I know that creates a lot of noise, it becomes so loud. But is that a common thing to use within the temple? That's really big, the real big, I don't know what you call it, but I call it
Wampers.
Yes, wampers, yes.
Well, I was trained that they were meant for outside, not inside, because inside you have everything on. There's reverberations. We did an experiment in Philadelphia, and we were doing a kirtan that wasn't very loud, and we tested with a decibel. You can get one on your cell phone, a decibel meter, and we found even at a moderate kirtan inside the temple was 100 decibels, which is approaching an area which is tough. So we should really be careful. In some temples, they restrict it very, very, very strongly because, it's not uncommon that people become disturbed by especially babies, by the loud sound, especially kartals. So one story I'll tell you about that is, you remember Jayananda of Rath Yatra fame. So 1976, there used to be a festival truck, and we used to drive around in Manhattan with kirtan on the back of it was a flatbed truck, kirtan going on, and Jayananda would sit on the back, and there was a ship's bell hung on the backside of the festival truck, and during the kirtan, he would get really worked up, and he would go bing, ring, 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 really excited. And after a while, it got hard to get people to come on the festival truck. So he asked me, Vishnugada, what's happening? I said, Jayananda, I think people are getting a headache from the ringing. And he said, Vishnugada, you should have told me. You should have told me because, I just get carried away. And that's, okay. Yeah. I should have told him, but anyway, I told him finally anyway. But you know the loud noise can drive people away. If it's, I mean, the most important part is the loud sound of the name, not the sound of the instruments. When the instruments go louder, then the voice you have to, you know, during Lord Chaitanya's time, there was no microphone. So the instruments go louder, then you got to amplify the voice louder, then the instruments go louder, and it becomes overwhelming. Okay. That was volume. Tempo. You know what tempo means? The speed of the speed of the kirtan. Okay. Did Srila Prabhupada ever address the tempo of kirtan, do you think?
Yes.
I think, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Any examples?
I've just watched one video, Prabhu, where when Prabhupada had his when Shri Prabhupada had a mridanga and a mic, and I remember him saying to one devotee the beat, you know, the rhythm. That's the only thing that I remember.
Yes. So I was there in Brooklyn in Henry Street. It's probably about 1973, where usually the way it happened was Srila Prabhupada would go on a morning walk between 6 and 7, then arrive at the temple at 7. There'd be greeting the deities, Guru Puja, class, and then after class, like Jiva Goswami said, there was usually a kirtan, and that kirtan was not usually led by Srila Prabhupada. One devotee would lead that. So in this particular case, a devotee named Parikshit, who was the artist, he started the kirtan playing harmonium. So then there was a devotee who was playing the kartals, and there's a recording of this that I saw recently. And the devotee playing the kartals started to speed up. And you know what Prabhupada did? He stopped the kirtan. He stopped the kirtan. He said, "Follow the leader. Follow the leader." And then they started again. Parikshit was playing harmonium. And so they started again. And the person playing the kartals sped up again. And Prabhupada stopped the kirtan again. He said, "Follow the leader. Follow the leader." So perhaps by, you know, we want to be heard, and perhaps influenced by the mode of Rajogun passion, there's this pressure to speed up all the time, and it's, you know, the mode of goodness means maintenance, right? So there's this tendency is there all over the world, not just here in Philadelphia or in Reading, or it's all over the world. It's very difficult to keep a steady beat. It takes practice, just like any other thing, any other talent. It takes practice. There was a devotee in Mexico. Prabhupada visited Mexico a couple of times, and there was a sannyasi who had left his vows, and he came to see Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada said, no, he said, will you reject me because I've left the sannyasi? Prabhupada said, "I cannot reject. I don't reject anyone." He said, Lord Chaitanya needs everybody for his services. He said, Krishna consciousness is like playing in mridanga. The more you practice, the better you get. So you got to practice. Like I said, Lord Chaitanya used to play every single night kirtan, every single night. In the early days of ISKCON, there was kirtan going on every day, so many times a day, every day. So we don't have as much time. So learning. So usually what happens is when we have a slower beat, people want to speed up, and if there's a faster beat, people like to slow. Can't keep up, so they slow down. So what you can do, what's the practical remedy for this is, like I said, practice, but also perfect practice, where you can have a metronome. You can put a metronome on your phone, and you can practice keeping the beat. It'll feel like, especially if you're one of the people like me who tends to be more passionate, that the metronome is changing its speeds. It'll feel like that. but it's actually you. But it feels like the elected. So practice, and once you get attuned to that, when you get attuned to the tempo of a steady beat, it will become, the kirtan will become something you can really concentrate on in your meditation on trying to please Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada, he taught devotees how to practice kirtan in 1968 in Montreal, before they went to London. You remember this? So Prabhupada had to leave the United States for a little while because of a visa problem. So devotees from San Francisco, there were three couples, Yamuna and Guru Das, Shamsundar and Malati, and Mukunda and Janaki. Yeah, so they went to visit Srila Prabhupada in Montreal before going to London. So when he was there, Srila Prabhupada had them practice kirtan. You know this. And he corrected their pronunciation, it says. And he had them start out slow and speed up. No, that's not always the case. It's not always the case. But it's, if you're doing a lot of different things at once, it's sometimes good to start out slow. Just like when you go on an airplane, they don't tell you to put your seatbelt on while you're in the air or while there's an emergency going on, right? They tell you before you start, because then this thing will come down, you put your seatbelt on, and there's all these lights and all that stuff. So you start out slow, then you increase gradually. So we start out slow and we can think about all these things. I'm doing this to please Krishna, not to chant too loud. Let me follow the leader. Let me chant Hare Krishna, the Mahamantra, all the Mahamantra, these things. Okay. So then there's so that was tempo. Then, we're almost 9 o'clock. Okay. Instruments. So the instruments are used to reinforce the tempo. Srila Prabhupada said Caitanya Mahaprabhu simply used kol and kartal. That's all. In those days, of course, there was no harmonium. But many stringed instruments were there, sitar, esaraj, but these were not used. Sometimes we used to attract, but they're not required. These are the instruments. The main instruments are the mridanga or kol and kartal, and other things are additional, not required. And there's one letter where Srila Prabhupada in 1976 says, during the arti, harmonium is not required, not recommended. Our kirtan arti. So some temples restrict the number of players of the instruments because too many instruments can become muddled. And sometimes you'll find that somebody will pick up an instrument and they don't really know how to play. Does that ever happen? Does it ever happen?
Yeah.
And so what do? So like
Tolerate.
Well, if you were going to a concert and there's somebody in the audience and his little kid is starting to play a kazoo during the middle of a concert, would that go on?
No.
No.
It's because people take it cheaply. We take it cheaply. This is our method to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead nicely. So the time for kids, kids. So their parents, they're usually very lenient with their kids, and so the kid might be doing any kinds of making a lot of noise, and they'll just say, "Oh, aren't they cute?" But that's not for the temple. They can do that outside. Okay. So then let's see, the tune or melody. So tune is like a garland that's decorating the deity of the holy name. In response to a question about what melodies to use or what tunes are bona fide, Srila Prabhupada replied to a letter to Ekayani on the August 3rd, 1971. So far, your question, what tunes are bona fide? Any tune can be used. When it is in relation to Krishna, that makes it bona fide. A letter to Sureshwara in February 3rd, 1972. You may choose any suitable tune. Most important is that the melody remains simple.
Simple.
So chant a tune that is really relatively easy to follow. There are many complex tunes. If a melody is too complex, some people will have trouble following and may not chant. Remember, the principle for Sankirtan is to involve as many people as possible in chanting. Although it's not a requirement, there are ragas and melodies to be used at different times of the day. As an example, Prabhupada liked the morning tune to be used for Mangalarti, but that's not required. He said in the letter, he said it's not required. It's not a big deal. One can also chant and chant melodies used by Srila Prabhupada.
Okay.
Yes. So this is my final consideration here. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never considered the holy name of the Lord to be a material vibration, nor does any pure devotee mistake the chanting of Hare Krishna to be a material musical manifestation. Lord Chaitanya never tried to be a master of the holy name. Rather, he taught us how to be servants of the holy name. If one chants the holy name of the Lord just to make a show, not knowing the secret of success, he may increase his bile secretion, but he will never attain perfection in chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna.
Very bold.
Prabhuji, thank you so much. I have a couple of questions. I will try to frame them properly. One is how Kirtan can help us in building a strong and bonded community.
Have more Kirtan.
That's what I thought.
Have more Kirtan. Lord Chaitanya was having Kirtan every night, and he's the Supreme Personality of God for hours. So, you know, we just have to have more of it. I was saying back in, you know, in the early days of ISKCON, in Prabhupada's letters that he would write for initiation, he would say, if you look at them, he would say, so-and-so is your name. So please go out on street Sankirtan every day. Yeah, many, many, many letters. So right now, you know, are we getting the proper dose of the medicine? I don't know. I can only, we have, there's less Kirtan going on there used to be. So that will bring people together. More Kirtan.
Thank you, Prabhu. One more question I have is, like you mentioned, some of the points that you covered about chanting, how to chant, how to sing, what to do, what not to do. Some of those have also become ruled by GBC now. But what happens, the rules and regulations from authority are for our benefit, but sometimes out of our conditioning, we have trouble accepting the rules in our devotional life. Although we will accept all the rules in our job or outside devotional life. So if you can just speak a little bit about that, that might help all of us.
Yeah. I mean, it helps me too. You know, when Lord Chaitanya went to his spiritual master, the spiritual master told him, "You're a fool," and Lord Chaitanya accepted that, even though he was the Supreme Lord and a great Pandit. So we, including me especially, we have the ego that we don't want to. We like to be the boss, not the follower, and that's really important part of our understanding of Krishna consciousness. That we have to make progress, and where we are now isn't good enough. It really isn't. So the spiritual master, part of the spiritual master's job is to chastise the disciple. There was one time where Srila Prabhupada was, he got angry at a disciple, and Shruta Kirti asked him, Srila Prabhupada, when you get angry, what should we do? And he said, you should be very happy. You should be very happy, because the spiritual master's chastisement is mercy to you to help you make progress. But that we've forgotten a lot. And because we're adults, we're older, we think, oh, nobody can chastise us. It's really a very important part of we need to be shaken up. Like when you fry a puri in the wok, the puri goes, sometimes people just throw it in and it puffs up, but not always puff up. You have to throw some ghee on top of it, then it puffs up. So similarly, we have being pushed down a little bit is very helpful for us, so we can make improvement. So that's something we have to. I mean, it's not that I'm going to go around just chastising people, or somebody, you know, the temple president go chastising people, but Chanakya Pandit said, an intelligent person is someone who can take good instruction even from a low-born person, isn't it? They can take gold from a dirty place. They can take a qualified wife even if she's not a high birth, and they take good instruction even from a chandala, good instruction. So we have to think about that. Yeah, sometimes it's how the instruction is given also. Sometimes it's how the instruction is given. As you know, in India, people used to like to go around the backside to give instruction. Isn't it? They tell the uncle to say. So can you tell them? That's why American people tend to think that Indian people are a little sneaky. As American people, they say things right in your face. Right in your face. Whereas the Indian people tend to go, you know, they live in joint families. If everybody was face-to-face conflict, there'd be a war. So you got to go around a little bit. But somehow or other, but if we can get that instruction and be a little bit determined to make that continue giving that instruction, hopefully it'll get through.
Thank you, Prabhu. I love the examples you gave for this answer. I mean, I got it. Thank you. Anyone has any questions? This is a great opportunity to ask from someone who is realized, you know, it will really pierce our heart.
I have one more, if you don't mind. Go ahead, Anasuya. You go ahead.
No, it's okay. So Devi, go ahead, Prabhu. I can wait.
Okay. Prabhu, you mentioned about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was having kirtan. It was just call and kartal.
Yeah.
And then, so how can we stop in, like bass and guitar and other stuff, and trying to follow Lord Chaitanya's footsteps?
Yeah. That was a quote from Srila Prabhupada, that call and kartal. He said, but for attracting others, we can use other instruments.
Instruments, yeah.
Yeah, it's not that, you know, in some temples they stop people from using any other instruments in the temple room. No guitar, no harmonium, nothing. And there's some temples that do that. You know, every day in every temple, there's guitars and harmoniums playing every single day. You know that. For Govindam, every single day. So it's not that Prabhupada rejected them. But we have to, we use everything in Krishna service, but especially for the RT Kirtan, he said simple was kol and kartal. If you search, you can search in the Prabhupada letters, you know, on Veda base. And you'll find, if you can search for harmonium, you'll find Srila Prabhupada giving all kinds of instructions about how to involve harmonium in kirtans, especially early on. In the early days, whenever there was a Kirtanananda would play the harmonium as a drone during the kirtans. When I was there, Srila Prabhupada, like I mentioned about Parikshit, he was playing harmonium during the kirtan. It was during Arti. And Prabhupada didn't stop that. So I'm not, it's not that this is not, to my understanding, it's not an absolute, but just a general thing that we don't need, we don't we don't need extra. We don't need extra. We can keep it simple. If people want to come and participate and they can play along with the beat and along with the tune and not cause a disturbance, okay. I think they had a upright piano that was taken apart in the 26 Second Avenue.
Mhm.
Cold and
Okay,
cardinal
Prabhu.
are basics.
Yes,
Basically.
thank you.
Prabhu, you were talking about, for Ram Navami, we, if we have to sing Raghupati Raghava, we just do the 2 lines. Is there a rule or standard for Radhastami? Because I only know of the Mahamantra and Sri Radhika Stava, but I was told that there are others that some devotees do sing. And is there a rule, Prabhu? Like, is this just Sri Radhika Stava and Mahamantra and that's it?
Radhika Stava is Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava
Yes.
Daite. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's in our line. That's in our line.
But there's nothing else aside, because I've heard other.
There's a lot of other chants. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know them, so I don't want to even disrespect how to say the word.
The safe way is to follow in the footsteps of the Srila Prabhupada.
Okay.
Etan nirvidyavananam ichtatam okutobayam yoginam nipanyuritam harinam anukirtanam. Chanting in the ways is doubtless and fearless way of success. Chanting following the ways of the great authorities. Harinam anukirtanam. Anukirtanam means following according to the authorities. So, that's the safe way. Chanting Hare Krishna is sufficient for everything. And you can chant Sri Radhika Stava also. That's sufficient.
Because why, as was last year, I was put on a spot to sing a Vrindavan bhajan that I really don't know, and I had to ask one of the kids to sing in my ear so I can sing it out, and I think I ruined it. So I was so scared, if it's okay or not. That's why I
mean, there are bhajans that are written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur and Lochan Das Thakur and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Those are our main bhajans that we sing, and some Rupa Goswami also. So we try to stay in that line. There are other chants that one can sing. That we're going out on a limb a little bit when we go there when it's not in our disciplic succession. I mean, Srila Prabhupada knew all these things, but he chanted certain things. He chanted, usually he chanted the whole Hare Krishna mantra, the whole Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But there's one instance, if you listen to the chant Gai Gora Madhu Share, where Prabhupada sings it, he sings that. He only sings half of the Hare Krishna mantra, and then the other half. That's only place he does that. But so there's many prayers that we can sing, and we should learn those prayers. Those are really, really wonderful prayers. They're full of meaning, and they're consistent with the philosophy and mood of the acharyas too.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Any other questions anyone has, or any comments?
I have another question. If there's no one else that wants to ask a question, I have 2 more here. Prabhu, how can we help? You were addressing, how it's so important to make sure that those that are playing in kirtan, they and sing, like this is temple worship, and having kids just, thinking like it's a cute thing. How can we help parents? Because parents get so sensitive when we bring up such topics of helping them to understand. How can we help them to understand, Prabhu, like without offending?
Yeah, we got to talk about it beforehand, orientation, some kind of orientation or discussion, just like we're having here. We have to do that. I mean, it's like it's an obvious. So I gave the example: if you bring your kid to a concert and they started to play an instrument in the audience, nobody would do that. Nobody would do that. It would people, but somehow we think it's okay here. So another way is to limit the number of instruments you have available. But then people,
good one.
yeah, or have somebody in charge of handing them out.
Yeah. Prabhu, I want.
Mataji, you had one more question? Yeah.
Yeah, I do actually. I was writing my notes. Prabhu, when you were reading one of Prabhupada quotes, where Srila Prabhupada said that temple worship is secondary, kirtan is primary, that really hit home like a thunderbolt, because I think right now there is a particular standard or mood, whatever the term is, that temple worship is becoming more primary, like more important, and kirtan is not equal or higher. How can we educate or train the devotees to understand the importance of kirtan being primary?
Yeah, that's why we had this class.
Thank you.
And the same thing I said to dear Krishna Prabhu, that we got to have more kirtan. We have to have more kirtan. Organizing more kirtan. It's got to be.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Jesus Surat. Prabhuji, so how, like you just explained how we should have more kirtan, how is that possible with the situation? Like, I know there's Zoom calls and everything, but some people say that it's kind of difficult to do it online. So what would you suggest that we do?
Wait till it's offline and then go. I mean, I think you're in yellow phase now, aren't you?
Yes, and I just checked the news that I think Reading is coming tomorrow into yellow phase. Same with Philadelphia.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Today, actually, today.
Today, 5th, yeah.
But they still don't want. They still don't want to have. Still don't want to have gatherings in Philadelphia for another week. And but whatever your opportunity is, whenever your opportunity, it's like this is the thing. This is this magical thing that's going to give us the most spiritual development, and the best way to please Krishna is Sankirtan, which also includes book distribution as well. But it's simple as chanting the holy names. So however we can arrange it, that's I agree with you. It's not very easy during this time, but it's not going to be like this forever. So whenever we have the opportunity, let's go.
Prabhuji, one question on that note is, how can we get this courage and that motivation and enthusiasm to really go out on the street? Because the real mood of a kirtan is go out on the open streets and get the benefit shared with everybody, not in the closed doors. We can do closed doors for ourselves, but absolutely the real mercy comes when we go out on the streets. But somehow that hesitation to a lot of devotees is there, right? How can we come out of that hesitation?
Just do it. Balabhadra Prabhu, he's down in Atlanta, so he goes out twice a week, and sometimes he has only one other person that goes with him. But he goes and he does it he chants for an hour and a half. I mean, these are just some kind of things, like the same thing with the Weekend Warrior program or the MSF, Monthly Sankirtan Festival. You don't have to make a big deal. Go out and chant. You don't have to chant for 5 hours. You can chant for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it might be. But so it's done regularly, then people will begin to appreciate it, especially if we focus on some of the things we talked about today. We don't have to make it a big thing, but at least something, and it'll develop. It will develop.
Thank you, Prabhu. So it's 9:19 actually. So any other question before we move on to the next part of the program?
I have one question.
Yes, please.
Yes. I was listening to you talking about people that are enthusiastically chanting, and sometimes they're jumping up and down, you know, which might be a distraction. But how do we tell the difference? Because some people get enthusiastic, like they're really into it. I'm serving the Lord, but it could be a distraction for others. Like I know personally, I move out of the way, you know, because I don't want to get hurt, so I would move back. But I heard you say, like, you know, sometimes when people are jumping, that's not like a good thing. So if you
well, I was quoting, I was citing an example with Jayananda, who was playing a bell, and the bell was very loud, and the bell was going over the mantra. So even though he might have been jumping, the jumping was secondary to his playing the loud bell. So we didn't get into dancing. We could dancing is another area of, you know, what to do. I mean, generally Srila Prabhupada would have people raise their hand and dance in a like the Panchatattva dancers. But sometimes when somebody's very enthusiastic, they may jump. That happens. But they still should be that's jumping not without chanting. And if it's dangerous, then yeah, nothing wrong with getting out of the way.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
So that was the question from, I think, Arvindaksh Prabhu and family from Allentown. Thank you so much, Prabhuji and Mataji, for joining. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So it seems like no other question. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. I think this was a great topic you came up with, and I'm sure it has benefited all of us, whether we are part of participating team or performing team. What mood we should have, how should I think in nutshell, you really covered the third verse of ISKCON. That is the mood we should have, Trinada Peacefully Chena. And also, it was great to hear from you all the wonderful points on Kirtan, and especially you being yourself a wonderful Kirtanya. It was definitely coming from the right source. And thanks for sharing your memories with so many other disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and from the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada, and just hearing from you about the story of with Jayananda Prabhu, it just brings ecstasy to our bodies. Just thank you so much for sharing all those beautiful pastimes. So I don't know whether I can request you, Prabhu, if you can sing Narasimha prayer for us and make us more ecstatic. If that is okay with you.
Oh, you sing the string of prayers now.
Yes,
okay,
Prabhu.
Sure. Is it a call and response?
It's up to you. With the quality of the Zoom,
we can try.
Okay.
It's okay with me.
Okay. Before we start the prayers, I would like to request all the devotees to pray for a devotee in Delhi, India. He is having his name is Prathu Das Prabhu, and he is really going through some health issues, breathing problems, and some other diseases like the diabetes. Along with that, and hospital, he having trouble getting admitted to the hospital also. So let's, if we can keep this devotee in our mind. I got a very special request from one of my god brother. If we can just pray for this devotee and keep him in our prayers, that would be great. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So whenever you are ready, Prabhu, we can start.
Okay.
I will project also.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlad Dayine. Hiranya Kashipur Bhakshaha.
Hiranya
Shila Tankana Kalaye. Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimho.
Ito
Jato Jato Jamitato Nrsimha. Bahi Nrsimho Hridaye Nrsimho. Nrisimhamading Sharanam Prapadye. Nrisimhamading Sharanam Prapadye. Avakara Kamala Bare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Avakara Kamala Bare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare.
Kala Kamala Bare Dalita Hiranyakashipu
Tanu Bringa Ishavatrita
Narahari Rupa
Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare
Nrsimha Bhagavan ki Jai. One thing to know is that when the Nrsimha prayer was introduced, we would sing the Nrsimha prayer, but nobody ever sang Jai Nrsimhadev. Nobody ever did. That came like later. And then somebody, after singing Jai Nrsimhadev, then somebody thought, well, why just Jai Nrsimhadev? Why not add Prahlad Maharaj? So then it became Prahlad Maharaj. Then somebody said, okay, Srila Gurudev, then Srila Prabhupada, then Nitai Gaur Haribol. When we first introduced it, it was just Namaste Nrsimhaya and the Tavakara Kama, nothing else. Okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. His Grace Vishnugada das prabhu ki Jai.
Jai.
So, quick announcement. Next, actually, day after tomorrow, Sunday, we'll have a class by His Holiness Giriraj Swami at
Oh,
8 p.m. Sunday. Again, 8 p.m. Sunday. We'll have a class. We have a session by His Holiness Giriraj Swami. And I think I did have the flyer just to make sure. So this is a change in time just for this Sunday. Instead of 5 p.m., we'll have the class at 8 p.m. So please join us on this Sunday. And of course, tomorrow we all will meet again for our group study of the science of self-realization at 8 p.m. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you so
Hare
much. Please
Krishna,
stay safe,
Thank you so much,
stay
Vishnugada
healthy.
das prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Thank you so much,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Please
you.
accept
Hare
our
Krishna.
namaste.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Thank you.